We all know what a heartbeat feels like. If you put your hand on your chest, you can feel the soft boom, 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 boom of your heart beating rhythmically. On average, a heart beats 80 times in a minute, 4,800 times in an hour, and 115,200 times in a day. It is such a natural occurrence that most of the time we don't even recognize that it is beating. It just keeps pulsing under the radar, working in perfect harmony with the rest of your body. However, this is not the case for me. If any of you have ever been in a room with me before when it was quiet, you may have heard a loud and uneven ticking that sounded like a faulty clock. You're probably wondering what that ticking was, and I'm here to tell you that what you heard was my heart. Its loud metallic ticking and frequent arrhythmias sound like a funky drum beat, and although that's pretty cool, it is still a daily reminder that I have 2 metal heart valve implants. You guys should have heard it a minute ago. It sounded like a reggae beat or something. It was crazy. Valves have an essential function in your heart because they regulate the flow of blood to places around your body. They act as a barrier that opens to let blood through and closes to prevent blood from flowing back. I was born with congenital heart disease and a defect where one of my heart valves was not opening and closing properly. By the time that I was 18 months old, I had 3 open heart surgeries in an attempt to repair my valves. Despite the efforts of the cardiac surgeons, my heart disease continued to worsen. Now 2 of my heart valves were damaged, and I went into heart failure. Unusual for my age, it was decided that the best course of action was to replace my damaged valves with 2 artificial mechanical heart valves. I was lucky enough to have benefited from the work of researchers at St. Jude's Hospital who designed these miniature heart valves for children like me. Now these valves, while they saved my life, came with one major drawback. It is very easy for potentially fatal blood clots to accumulate on these valves. When I was younger, a small blood clot formed on one of my valves and traveled to my brain, causing me to have a minor stroke. In order to prevent these blood clots from happening, I was put on a drug called sodium warfarin, which, as it turns out, is also rat poison. Since I was 2, my parents have been feeding me rat poison every single night, which is just really, really encouraging. But having thinned blood leaves me susceptible to serious bruising and internal bleeding. This meant that there must be serious restrictions on the things that I was able to do in order to prevent any bleeding in my head or chest. So basically, I spent the beginning of my life running around in a helmet. This drug is typically given to older people, so it gets a lot more complicated when you give it to an active child. Case in point, at my first playdate with my new friend Eli in kindergarten, we decided that it would be a great idea to hit each other over the head with big blow-up plastic bats. We were having a great time until the seam of the bat just happened to nick the side of my lower lip and slice a tiny cut. 18 hours later, I found myself still bleeding in the emergency room and wondering if my mom was ever going to let me hang out with Eli again. This moment emphasized that if I could bleed this easily from a small cut, there needed to be serious restrictions on the activities that I was able to do. I have always been a huge fan of sports. When I was younger, I dreamt of being a professional sports player, a football player, or a basketball player, or a soccer player. It didn't matter. I just knew that I wanted to play sports. I would frequently run around my house in a football uniform and helmet, throwing the ball back and forth to myself. I was determined to work hard and become the best player that I possibly could be. But during annual checkups with my cardiologists, the older that I got, the more I began to understand that the possibilities of me playing contact sports was dwindling. I can clearly remember going to an appointment and hearing what at the time was exactly what I was hoping I would never hear. I could not play any sports with physical contact because of the fear that I would experience serious bruising and bleeding. My doctor told me I could play golf. Really? I mean, no offense to golf, but that was it? he said maybe tennis. And if I wanted to play baseball, I would need to wear a heart guard and be very careful about protecting myself from the ball. This news devastated me. I wanted to play football, soccer, hockey, basketball, and I really thought that I would be good at it. I can remember being angry at my parents, angry at my cardiologists, and angry at the situation that I was in, even though I knew that they were right. And the reason that I was so angry is because I was never given an opportunity to see if I was any good at it. I understood that there were some things I was just bad at, and that I was never going to be able to do well. But having someone else tell you you can't do what you're passionate about because something is wrong with you is a feeling that I'll never forget. When I was in middle school, since I wasn't playing any of the sports that I had hoped to, I began to play a lot of music. I had played the cello for a very long time, but I began to branch out and play other instruments, such as the piano, tuba, bass, and guitar. I joined the middle school jazz band playing the electric bass, and soon after switched to upright. I also still wanted to be involved in as many sports as I possibly could have been, and so I convinced my parents and my doctor into letting me play on the middle school tennis team. I'd played maybe 2 weeks of tennis in my entire life, and I partly just joined to participate on any sports team. But after a few weeks of playing, I realized that I really enjoyed it and that I had the potential to be a decent player. Heart disease or not, I was able to compete at the highest level that I could, something that was new to me. I never thought that I was going to be a tennis player, and in fact, it probably would have been one of my last choices for a sport. But I enjoy it, and I enjoy playing music, two things I never would have imagined myself doing. I don't usually tell many people about my heart disease, and that is not because I'm ashamed of it or because I'm trying to hide it, but I don't want these restrictions to define who I am. I don't want people to think that I need special treatment, and I don't want people to feel sorry for me because I don't feel sorry for myself. After 5 open heart surgeries, I'm choosing not to focus on my restrictions. And although I never would have chosen to have heart disease, in a way I am appreciative because it led me to become a skilled musician and to enjoy a sport that I now love. We all have aspirations and goals that we so badly want to pursue, but sometimes they just don't pan out the way we had planned. For anyone who is struggling with something, or if something is holding you back, don't let it define who you are, and don't let it consume you. We can all accomplish amazing things despite our struggles and restrictions, and those things aren't always what you'd expect them to be. There's this quote from author Jack London that really resonates with me that says, "Life is not always a matter of holding good cards, but sometimes playing a poor hand well." Thank you.